So what I'd like to propose is we'll have the meeting, and this meeting is recorded. Lauren, is that in your capacity? Are you able to forward them a copy of this meeting so they can preview it?
Yes, so I'm recording the meeting, so is Tori, and Tori's taking notes while we'll have the meeting so we can send it out to the steering committee members.
All right, so I'd like to go ahead and call the meeting to order at 11:03 and thank everybody for their time today. We're going to receive some good updates from the G3 coordinator, but a couple things I wanted to talk about. First, I wanted to thank all of the steering committees for going through all of their action areas and doing their priorities. I know that this was facilitated by Lauren and Trina and others, and it is going to be very useful so that we can assign resources and prioritize and make sure that we provide good support and attention to all of those action items that are of high priority, and then so on, right? And then the second thing is we do have the Island Sustainability Conference coming up in April. And so just to preview for everybody, today you're going to be receiving a template for a presentation. And so between this meeting and the next meeting in March, we're going to ask you to complete the template because in our March meeting, we're going to ask you to go through the template in each of the committees as we prepare for an April meeting. The April meeting, as you know, we'll have a biannual meeting where the governor and President Christ will convene as part of the Conference on Island Sustainability. But we're going to break out into the steering committee, and at the steering committee, we're going to use that as an opportunity to solicit and engage conference participants and members of the public that are attending the conference to discuss any one of the issues that we're going to be featuring in our presentation in April. So our March meeting is going to give us an idea about what your presentation will look like, and then it'll give us a good way to make sure that we have all our dominoes lined up for our April meeting, which definitely will be in a very public setting. So I think that's all I wanted to mention. And before we get to Lauren, I pass it on to Dr. Shelton.
Thank you, Lieutenant Governor. We're excited for the governor who formally accepted to co-chair our 2021 conference, and we're happy to have the biannual G3 meeting during that time. The dates are April 5th through the 9th. And April 6th will be the day of our G3 biannual meeting. The overall theme of the conference is Islands Are Rising. So a little bit of a counterintuitive narrative that we hope our participants to get excited about, whereas places like Guam and other islands have been known for climate change and sinking islands and high rates of chronic diseases. We're one of the safest places in the world right now. We're more connected than we've ever been because of these undersea fiber optic cables. And so we have that narrative as part of this Islands Are Rising theme. And I'll ask somebody from our team at CIS to just put the link in the chat to the conference website so you can read that when you have a chance. I also want to give a couple other updates on what our G3 core team is doing at the Center for Island Sustainability. So last year during the budget process, we were appropriated some money from the Recycling Revolving Fund, and we went in front of the Guam EPA Board of Directors last week. And so we have a tentative approval subject to their legal counsel's review. But what we've proposed and we hope to roll out fairly quickly and accomplish before the end of the year are 4 big projects. So the first one really aligns with the Lieutenant Governor's Island Beautification Task Force and the members there. We would like to create a G3 Island Beautification and Recycling project, which means we're going to get 20 recycling bins to act as depositories of metals, cans and plastic ball. I'm sorry, not plastic, metal can and glass, because those are things that we have the capacity to recycle or ship off on Guam at the moment. So these will be placed at mayor's offices and other strategic locations. We will also be ordering 50 waste bins that will be placed in several public parks. And we'll be working with Peggy Denny and iRecycle to make sure that the recycling is collected and taken to the correct places, and also have a nice outreach and education campaign going on. Next, we have the G3 Conservation Corps program. So this is sort of a strategic plan that hopefully we have a strong pilot program in place in case the Biden administration decides to create an actual conservation corps, but we'll be able to hire 12 people full-time with stipends to work 5 months straight on projects like recycling, cleaning up illegal dump sites, also addressing some invasive species like the governor's pet peeve, the Cadena de Amor chain of love plant. We can take some of those out. We also hope to do at least one aquaponics project and reduce also energy costs on government buildings by doing some retrofits and things like that. So we're really excited for that Conservation Corps program if that gets approved. The third project under these funds will be the Makerspace, the G3 Circular Economy Makerspace and Innovation Hub, which we've been working closely with Melvin and his team at Chamorro Village to get going. But we will use some of this budget to buy the Precious Plastics workspace, which will have these really fancy shredders and plate presses that we can create big metal sheets that will go into our CNC routers and laser cutters, and we'll be creating a whole bunch of new products that will be sold in Chamorro Village, and also hopefully create new green industries for Guam. We'll connect back with Mel and her team at GITA and figure out how these new businesses can take advantage of that new circular economy qualifying certificate law that passed recently. And then finally, we're going to be helping Guam EPA with their plastic bag ban outreach. Last month, we had the first phase of the ban go into place. Next January, all plastics will be banned, then paper bags by, I think, June of 2022. So we'll have an outreach campaign that will go into all different stores and help get that message out and make sure that there is compliance across the island. Okay, and then we have one other update with our international efforts. Governor Leon Guerrero is invited to be a featured speaker during Hawaii Island Sustainability Summit next Saturday, I think 9:30 a.m. Guam time, and we can send a link to that too. But that continues our local 2030 Islands Network activities to make sure that Guam is featured for all the good work that we're doing in advancing sustainability. Okay, those are my updates. If anybody has questions, be happy to answer.
Austin, before I turn it to Lauren, it just reminded me that as part of the Education Stabilization Fund projects, and I don't know if you've, I think Vanjie may have heard this already from Romina King, but one of the things in returning students safely to school includes making sure that we have an opportunity to have more digital content and learning resources that are going to be available to students. So one of the things we're already starting to do is looking at ways to expand the curriculum that is going to be used for all grade levels and for teachers. One of them, and Vanjie, could you help me? Romina, I'm trying to remember how I could describe these books, but I think that, and I'm not sure which sector of the University of Guam created, it sounds like they're almost kind of like natural science books that were based on, Guam coastal, Guam resources. And the idea is to expand that, to digitalize it, and actually to create lesson plans and programming that will be available for students and teachers to support that learning. So I just wanted to say that I see this, and Vanjie, am I correct? Is that, what is that series?
It was that Life on Guam series.
Yes.
And so it was it was in maybe about the 90s, 80s and 90s and early 2000s, the series of different types of things, natural resources, plus just, I think there's a section on historic resources as well. But it talks about plants and animals and things that you would normally see on Guam and some of the special features. And I believe that she's trying to get a group together to improve the content, but also in a partnership with PBS Guam, right? So it's going to be digital, but also to be aired on television as well. I know that you wanted to do it similar to like an animation, incorporating art animation and puppets and utilizing like the kids from Marine Mania and Guardians of the Reef. So I think that she's getting her group together to try to make that happen. But it was based on the series Life on Guam.
So I just wanted to bookmark that because a lot of people are involved in different things. I'd say even for CIS and the other programs, I do think that there's an opportunity to fund and support either curriculum development or revisions or updates to things. I even told Tyrone the other day, Vanjie, expect him to be calling you. I told him, I said, back many years ago when I was CZM director, we used to have coloring books that we push out to the elementary schools. So those kinds of learning resources are pretty critical, and we have an opportunity. Same thing, I'll just give you, same thing with the new Chamorro orthography project and the new, there's the Commission has published a children's book that helps focus on Chamorro language. These are all areas that I think there are definite opportunities, including, that we're going to be able to use, and not to let too much out of the bag. But, I'm talking with Dr. Okada here to try and get, she's developing a model to try and get these community learning centers that we intend to bring up to help with instructors and utilizing university and college students to help with homework assistance. So much because of the pandemic, there's a lot of opportunities to help kickstart on the learning side because the kids lost so much time, right? And they're gonna be making this up for a period of time. Melvin, at the libraries, we're gonna be expanding hours at the library so that it's available for people. So I just wanted to bookmark that because a lot of everything that you're doing in all the different areas, even in Lola's side, right? When you're talking about, basic nutrition, I mean, there's some basic fundamental things that, I think we have an opportunity perhaps to fund from the Governor's Education Stabilization Fund that are going to be helpful for students and for the homes and for the parents to try and get more learning resources to support this. So I just wanted to bookmark that I think there's good opportunity here. And I really think the curriculum and products that we're doing over this year and the next couple years are going to be lasting and so great to have, period, for the learning community on Guam. All right, so Lauren, over to you.
Thank you, Lieutenant Governor. So I will share my screen just to share the progress of the prioritization activity. Sorry, let me make sure this fits. Oops, sorry. Okay. There we go. So thank you everyone for either meeting with me or meeting with your teams and I, or just working on this on your own and sending me your updates. It's been great, it's been really helpful. So some things that came out of our prioritization meetings were ensuring that all the metrics were listed within the metrics section, that we have action leads that are a specific person that's assigned within the working group who will be able to provide updates on the action items listed to complete our goals. And we have listed what the prioritization level is. So when we say things are low priority, it's not that it's unimportant, it's just that there aren't the resources available to implement these programs or projects right away. Medium is something that's already ongoing by an agency, so it's just something good to keep track of. And high priority are things that will have a high impact and are achievable and have a deadline for completion. So I put in everyone's updates into this new document that I sent out in my most recent email. And also something that came out of the meetings is that some of the goals have been modified or edited or removed. Anything that was removed was just because it was mostly because it was duplicative. It was elsewhere in the framework, either by another team or another team decided to adopt something. And because we just brought on Lonnie Brennan into the working group recently, she had the opportunity to add in a whole new section within Educated, Capable, and Compassionate Island. And that's about peace, justice, and equality. So I think that this is really rounding out our framework and is going to help us be a more dynamic group and ensure that we're going to meet a lot of the SDG targets. So I added the 3 new tabs on the side that just lumped all the high priorities together. So high, medium, low are all together, just so it's easier to sort of navigate if we're just focusing on the low priorities and seeing where should more resources go to. With that being said, this is probably a good idea to just like consider to have at least 1 or 2 meetings with your working group team a month. So we have an agenda to accomplish by our next biannual meeting, or our first biannual meeting actually in April. So we will have to go through this quadrant report out document. So please meet with your teams to fill in this quadrant. I have all the teams listed in here, but please just focus on your individual team. So for instance, there's results accomplished since 2020, expected results by September 2021, emerging opportunities, and needs in accomplishing goals. So with this, please try to focus on things that are unique to this collaborative effort within G3. And if not a lot of that is coming up for your team, then maybe just like mention the really good updates that have happened since our last meeting in September, our last big meeting in September, that is really going to help push the G3 action framework forward. For instance, like the Guam Tropical Energy Code was recently approved by the legislature. And so that one action is going to impact several areas within the sustainable HUT category of action. And then there's an opportunity to put in additional information, maybe something that doesn't fit in as well in the other categories. So I will work with all of you to make sure that your teams meet at least once, hopefully twice. It seems like meeting 2 times in a month will help your team accomplish this activity. Just by all the meetings that I've had with you before, 2 seems to be the ideal number. So I'll work on this with your team, and I'll help you make schedules, and I could use my Zoom if you need it. So are there any questions so far with the new framework or the updated framework with the prioritization and this report quadrant? Okay, so I'll follow up with an email soon on that. So next thing
Lauren, sorry, this is Fran.
Yes.
Hi, this is Fran. I just had a question about the results in September 2020. So we're going to backtrack and input data from then, from that date moving forward.
Yes, and it doesn't have to be specifically data, like not like something that you're measuring like fish count or you know, number. Well, I guess it could be if there's something in your framework that is a big notable achievement, like you know, maybe an extra 500 acres have been designated for conservation, then that is something great to put in there. But if you're, I guess, what do you mean by data, Fran?
No, I'm just like wondering like what kind of results, not data, but just results. Because it's like September, so it's like backtracking.
Yeah.
It's just harder. That's all.
Yeah.
I
So
think I could also be that, you know, you convened as a committee, you identified 10 action areas and have categorized 5 of them as high priority. People are actively working on those. Are also quite acceptable. It's just really a picture in time, and I would say that results would be a lot of this is based on what the chairs feel are actual results. It could be structurally, organizationally within your committee, or it could be tangible things, as Lauren said, right? If it's a tangible accomplishment that you felt in an action area or focus area that really you think should be shared with the world, quite frankly, it's an opportunity for you to focus in on that. Now, the other important quadrant I would say is on the bottom, these emerging opportunities or the needs. You know, it could be a need, maybe for Lola's group is public health needs to be engaged, you know, or something like that. They need to have real-time data that is accurate and updated on their website in order for us to, you know, but it, you know, so it could be real brief. I would just say that this format, I've been in some other groups that it really has moved meetings along, and you were able to, at least as a placehold from your leadership, you know, put things on there. You might not need to discuss everything, but it was a point in time that you're able to kind of let everybody know, wave a hand. Hey, by the way, this is what we believe is going on, and you know, help, or make sure you recognize this. Don't miss this. This was actually an excellent, excellent accomplishment. So really it's going to be based on how you want to, you should, don't look at this form as a burden of forms. Look at this as a resource for you to get your message out.
Got it.
thank you, Lieutenant Governor.
Lauren, will you just send instructions on maybe how to fill out the form? So
Sure, I will. Okay.
thanks.
So I'm sorry, I'm sort of jumping around my updates a little bit. Since I'm still sharing my screen, I wanted to just show that the G3 communications team at CIS has some requests for materials. Because we're launching our website very soon, the guamgreengrowth.org website, it's not completed yet. We just sort of got the keys to start making edits to that website. And we want to make sure we highlight all the partners within the working group professionally and accurately. So we want to get everyone's logos in a PNG format in the largest resolution possible. We want to make sure we have the correct website. And we want to have our partners be, you know, their social media accounts. We want to be able to share those. So if you are doing an activity and you want some more traction, or you want some more like a bigger audience, we want to be able to share those messages out, even if we're just like talking about the importance of something like conservation. We could tag forestry, or if we're tagging, or if we're talking about energy conservation, we could tag Guam Energy Office. So if you have any Facebook or Instagram accounts, we would really love to showcase the work that you're doing. So we would like these materials by March 1st. So Corey Santos, who is our G3 coordinator, or our G3 communicator, he and I will work with you and your working group members to make sure that we have these materials as soon as possible. Next, if you or your team members have any existing photos of activities that showcase work that has been done already to accomplish anything in the G3 action framework, we would love to have those and share it on our social media and our website. And also, if there's anything noteworthy going to happen in the future or that's currently ongoing, we would like the opportunity to photograph and document these so we could share it with our with the general public here on Guam and our partners who are across the globe. So Corey and I will be working with you and your team members on that. And if you see in the agenda and the email I sent, there is a link for a survey. So the survey has been created by a graduate student at Arizona State University who is interning with the local 2030 Islands Network. And this is the network that Guam's a part of in meeting our sustainable development goals. So they are looking at Hawaii green growth and Guam green growth as the early adopters of the green growth model. And they are wondering what the G3 members and steering committee members think of the process. And they want to find out how everyone became involved and if there's any feedback that they have. And so this information in the survey will be shared with us so we could, you know, keep doing what's working well and improve in areas where, you know, maybe, you know, we're just starting this methodology. So how can we improve? And this will be put into a report that will be shared with anyone who's interested in having their own green growth initiative wherever they are. Yes, Dr. Okada.
Yeah, so I just clicked on the link and it says the survey can only be completed through invitation. So do we need to get a separate invite?
Okay, I will work with Haley, who is the intern who's in charge of that. So the due date for this is March 1st. That's their preferred due date, but their actual due date is March 15th. So I'll work with them on making sure you all get an invitation. So she probably just needs to check mark something on the form.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you for pointing that out. Any other questions? And it's a really short survey. I did it myself. It took me no more than 10 minutes. There's a couple sections where you can just write a short answer. And so that part will take as much time as you want to give it. And so she also gave me the survey to review and to provide feedback on. So the survey is tailored towards our team. Sorry, I muted myself. So just moving on, we have some meetings coming up. Like the Lieutenant Governor said, we have our biannual meeting, which is scheduled for April 6th. And we'll schedule another steering committee meeting for mid-April to prepare for the biannual meeting. So please, between now and mid-March, please meet with your teams twice. And in that time, you'll be focusing on completing the quadrant for report outs and I will be assisting you in arranging those meetings as much as you need my assistance.
And I just wanted to add, Lauren, that I'm going to make available a staff from the Guam State Clearinghouse to help you administratively if you want the help. So I'll work on the details with Lauren, but I'll make available and assign somebody from the clearinghouse, which is under the governor's office, to help kind of track things. If there are gaps, I don't want all the burden to be falling exclusively on the shoulders of the chairs or the co-chairs. So I don't want you to have to worry about getting in the time to make calls, to make sure everybody's there. I want to be able to support that and also make sure that folks in the government that are key are going to be part of this. So I'll work on a list. I'll work through Lauren. And there'll be some assignments, but just know that, part of the momentum with this, now that you've had all of the focus of the action items prioritized, I want to be able to provide you some good extra support to get things going and for us to push and make sure that you're getting the information that you want or need, and you're not getting any delays or pushback from bureaucracy. So I didn't really talk about this with Austin or Lauren yet, but I just wanted to add that on, that I want to provide additional support from my office to make sure that you're able to get things going.
Thank you, Lieutenant Governor. And I guess just to repeat what the Lieutenant Governor said earlier about the content of the biannual meeting. So the meeting will be from 9 to 11 on April 6th, and that's during the week of the conference. And the first half will be formal and chaired by the governor and the president of the university. So that will be from 9 to 10. And we'll be inviting some of our international partners who've been very involved with us in developing our green growth process, and who are essentially going to be able to provide the best feedback and the best international platforms for us to showcase all the good work that we're doing on Guam. So this will be the high level view. Will be where our report out will be of our quadrant. And the main focus is like, what are we solving and what can we continue to solve through this G3 initiative? And the second half from 10 to 11, that's where it will be led by the steering committee co-chairs, so the Lieutenant Governor and Dr. Shelton. And it will be more of a technical focus, something more of a deep dive, where people will get to engage more and ask more details and more questions to help, help everyone have a better understanding of the process, and to maybe show us areas where we can, better integrate some of the goals and action items in a more effective way. So this will be sort of like more of a working meeting than more of a big presentation. Okay. Anyone have any questions? Or Lieutenant Governor or Dr. Shelton, is there anything you'd like to add?
No, I think pretty good.
Okay, great.
Well,
so, sure.
Thanks, Lauren. All right, so we're now into kind of getting we already talked about the first half and the second half, right? And really the second half, our part, we'll be able to talk about it. Our next steering committee will it wouldn't be, we're not gonna have practice, but basically by the time we finish our next steering committee meeting, you would know exactly what is expected of you and what level of participation we would have for the formal meeting in April. So I think that's a pretty good structure. All right, so let's move on to some updates from the team leads. And if you don't have an update, that's fine, but I'll just call you and see if there's anything you wanted to mention. If you have some grief that you need to get resolved that I can help with, I don't mind you sharing it. So first one for healthy and prosperous communities. I know Lola's on the line. Lola, do you have any updates or anything you want to bring up?
No, not at the moment. I guess the issue would just be with getting the support from public health for the information that it's needed.
All right.
Okay.
Okay. By the way, I'm going to assign Lawrence Alcaro to you for this area from the clearinghouse, and he's been periodically embedded up there. So, okay. Second one for educated, capable, and compassionate island, Dr. Okada.
The only update is we will probably infuse in our matrix or the quadrants everything that we've been doing associated with reopening of schools, because that's been a major focus for all of us. And so that would be, one is for continuity, two is identifying the areas where there may or may not be any data collected, because like, for example, the school assessments based on students not being able to go into class and taking the ACT Aspire. So all of those now modifications or waivers now that have been granted are going to put some damper on the data that will be collected. But we'll identify that in the quadrant section. But it was a really good exercise. Thank you, Lauren, to go through identifying the high, medium, and low priorities. And now that we're able to circle back with our committees, perhaps some of this can be included in some of the funding that might be made available through whether the second CARES package or the upcoming third one. So there might be some infusion of focus based on that funding that comes out. So thanks.
Right. Actually, I was going to say this, the silver lining for the pandemic is on the education front, and the tremendous support and attention coming in from the federal government is going to allow us, as Mary said, Dr. Okada said, to really kind of maybe do things we never had imagined we would even be getting into. All right. So the next one will be, I don't see homes, utilities, and transportation is missing, correct?
Correct.
Right. So Rob Sinagasim for my personal chambers is going to be assigned to that one. I'll make sure that moves. All right, thriving natural resources, Vanjie.
Fran and I met yesterday and we sent out the update to our group, but I would like to have Kyle share the work that he's been doing. So Kyle, are you on? Take it away.
Yes, I am. I muted my class, but so one of the thriving natural resources, the priorities that we were trying to contact or get onto was establishing a youth network of organizations who already share the focus of addressing the climate crisis. And so we were able to connect with Simon Sanchez High School, also another youth two youth advocacy groups, and Ukadu High School. And one of our next steps is to include local business like MISA Guam, and another nonprofit, which is MCCA. I think MCCA is already in it, but our next step would be to get in touch with the superintendent to see the other schools that we can coordinate with. So we're just gonna be like a little network of youth organizations so that we can have a collective voice on things that address the climate crisis. So that was just started like this month.
That's awesome work, Kyle. I just wanted to tell you, by the way, Kyle is also a member of the Youth Congress, as is Nolan Flores, who's also listening on. So we also have some good leadership, and they're able to pick up on and address some policy too. So thanks so much, Kyle. That's a very good idea. All right.
One more praise for Kyle. He just got into a highly competitive conservation scholars program at UCLA. Kyle, the Doris Duke Conservation Program. Congratulations.
Good job, Kyle. Congratulations. That is very good. Very impressive. All right. Sustainable Alliances, Mel Wampat Borja. Well, Mel was just on, actually.
Yes, I'm here. I'm here.
Oh, there he is. You shaved, Mel, so I didn't.
Yeah. So since we're talking up our young guns, I just want to acknowledge that our guy Nolan Flores is currently one of the finalists for Truman Scholarship. And so we're very proud of Nolan, and having him on board with us has been a great help to us. There's been quite a few things happening on our side. Probably the two more public things are the mass exit of our Micronesian neighbors from the Pacific Islands Forum, which is one of our targeted goals for participation. It's pretty unclear what is what's going to happen with the Pacific Islands Forum, but we already have begun communication with our regional neighbors. A lot of this is yet to be seen, but even though there is a change, the Pacific Islands Forum itself is not going anywhere. And we also have the Micronesian Islands Forum to look forward to. So as that continues to develop, we'll update you. But the other important thing to mention, I'm sure you've all heard about the Magellan Elcano expedition, the 5th centennial that's coming up here on Guam later this week. This is highly publicized, mostly because of the commemoration of the circumnavigation of the ship. But it's important to note that this is a really unique and important diplomatic opportunity for our government. And so the King is sending 3 personal representatives to Guam for this commemoration. We already have plans for diplomatic engagement, and we have high hopes that this will be valuable to us in our international negotiations moving forward. On a lighter note, we have some exciting things happening at the Chamorro Village. Austin mentioned a few of those. These folks are just about ready to move in. We're finalizing all of the last details of it, but we're excited about the plan. Thanks to G3 for working with us on the negotiation for the additional space. We made an agreement to exchange a discount for service dealing with some of our waste. So they will be collecting and repurposing the plastic recyclable waste for the maker space. And they will be processing our green waste through a chipper that we'll be able to use around the village and make available the excess to the public. That's about it for the most immediate things. A lot of these other things include reports and papers that we continue to work on.
Thanks, Mel. All right, Dr. Shelton, do you have anything else you wanted to bring up? Or Lauren, I guess, before Dr. Shelton.
Yeah, so Austin Grant, who is sitting in for Ricky, his connection failed, so I'll give the update for the data and public engagement team. So since our big meeting with Hawaii Green Growth and Esri in January, we have met, so the Esri, Hawaii Green Growth, and the data and public engagement team specifically met last week, and we have figured out the next steps for getting the dashboard for the G3 dashboard. So what's happening right now is Esri and University of Guam and the Office of Technology are trying to figure out which entity, if it's UOG or OTEC, will be the best holder of the license for the dashboard. Because there's different benefits that an education license will get versus an enterprise license. And so they are being really active in meeting, which is good. And Hawaii Green Growth and Esri gave us some really good pointers on what to prepare in the meantime for the dashboard while these discussions are happening. So I've developed a crosswalk of the SDG, of the UN SDGs and our categories of action. So just really highlighting, so each of our 5 categories of action, which SDGs are represented in those. And something that we'll be doing is figuring out which are our primary indicators of success in meeting our sustainable development goals. So we developed hundreds of goals and actions and objectives and metrics, right? So that's a lot to keep track of, but we're going to be going through them and figuring out which are like maybe the top 5 to track for each category of action. And then what will be our sub indicators of continued progress that will show a story. So what's going to tell a story and what's going to show the most immediate data. So those are the next steps for our dashboard. And what's really nice about the dashboard plan that we have right now is that we don't have to be overwhelmed by putting every single thing up all at once. We're going to be focusing on the main things that we want to highlight immediately, because the dashboard is very modular. It's very easy to add things on and expand it as needed and adjust it as needed. And we're going to have someone in Esri working closely with us, and they already made a mock-up of our dashboard, and it looks really cool. So it's really going to be just like plug things in as they come up. So I think the hardest task is going to be trying to figure out what these levels are. What are the tiers of indicators that we're going to be tracking and how? But we're on our way.
Thanks, Lauren. Dr. Shelton, did you want to add anything before we break?
Nope, nothing more from me. Thank you.
All right, so thank you everybody for your time, and we'll see you at the next meeting. And Lauren will communicate with you directly about the assignments of Clearinghouse or Lieutenant Governor's Office staff that will be able to help you attend your meetings and be of service to make sure that you don't feel alone out there. I want to make sure I give you good support, and we can have a good success on this. So thank you very much. And Dr. Shelton, I'll stay on for you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.